Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Welcome back. This is Silverback Ventures. I am Stephanie Thomas.
Scott Woods. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective.
We're going to talk about interns and volunteers. There's going to be a two-part. So we're just going to touch on the volunteer stuff for a second. If you have an unpaid intern, that's really a volunteer.
First of all, don't have unpaid interns.
It's just not nice.
No, it's not nice. And it's counterproductive.
It is counterproductive.
You get what you pay for unless you have a very good volunteer coordinator, which I know is a passion of yours. You've been doing it for a long time. So lead away.
So let's start with really the interns, right? Scott, you work with a great college.
I do.
You often, when we are with clients, say, hey, you need an intern.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, not that this is an interview, but why do companies need interns?
Well, I think it's a combination of the company needing to fill roles that they may or may not have a full-time need for, and also an opportunity to bring along the next generation of leaders within your organization. So I kind of liken it to a try it before you buy it kind of mentality. You can get a lot of value from young people that are going through school, need an internship for either their major or they're trying it before they buy it as well. Allowing them to kind of come in, learn the company culture, and add value in a short period of time helps not only the student gain some valuable experience, but from the company standpoint, it really allows you to create an opportunity for maximum value and impact in a short period of time to evaluate whether you need to hire somebody full-time or you can actually do this on a part-time basis. It's good like a project versus intern. Sorry to interrupt you. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Kind of like hey, do we need an intern that we need some baseline education that can give us a fresh perspective, or do we need a consultant that is going to tell us how we have to do things? One is obviously more expensive than the other, and you need different value from each one of them.
Kind of thinking back when I sit at the table with a group and they say, oh, well, we'll just get an intern. Well, okay, well, first you can't just get an intern, right? So I always encourage everybody, go to the Department of Labor, pull down the fact sheet. So the specific fact sheet is fact sheet 71. And it talks about, here's the test of what an intern is. You have to pay an intern at least minimum wage if they are a paid internship. You have to have some kind of coordination with their school. So on every single accredited school that allows an internship program, it'll say, here's how you have an educational, and this is the expectation. So you have to sit down, and when you are hiring an intern, when you bring them on board, are you meeting that criteria? And people miss that.
Oh, no, it's incredibly, well, because then you're just hiring a part-time employee.
Right.
And that's viable. I get the opportunity to work with students at Clemson all the time. We actually, one of the prior clients that I had, we brought in 5 interns under internship programs, like you said, with the universities, because the students can get college credit for being an intern in addition to getting paid.
Right.
If you are just looking for a part-time employee that happens to be a student, go for it. That's a part-time employee that happens to be a student. That's not an intern.
That means you are hiring somebody So you were talking about a consultant versus an intern. So if you hire a part-time student who is learning their craft, so a musician,
Okay.
soundboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's digital marketing, whatever. We'll use digital marketing. So they're learning how to be a digital marketing person. So you hire them part-time and they bring in what they're learning. That has nothing to do with them getting credit, not getting
Nope,
credit.
that's a part-time employee.
Right. If you are bringing on an intern because they are developing their skill, they are getting real world experience, you are helping them network, and you may have an opportunity to hire them as a full-time employee. Okay, that's an internship.
Yeah. And there's an expectation for the student to receive something other than compensation from the employer.
There's an educational
component that every university will require. You will require check-ins. The students are required to fill out a status report. I mean, you and I both have filled out a ton of those status reports. But to go back to the original premise, it is a fantastic way to get quality people that are going to do a short-term project-based thing for the organization, whether that's a for-profit or a nonprofit. And you get an opportunity to try out new initiatives that you need people to kind of take and run with. And if you don't have your staff internal that can do it, and you don't want to burn them crispy by saying, hey, in addition to doing all the other things you're doing, take on this new project. An intern that you have a educational component with and are following the regulations as you laid out, Steph, is a fantastic way to supplement your existing staff.
So I'm going to put my HR hat on for just a second. Sometimes when we talk to people and they're like, well, the intern didn't really work out. Okay, so how'd you onboard them? You can't expect an intern to work like an employee when you just brought them into the room and said, here's the project, and you checked on them 2 times.
Shuffle these papers for the next 4 months.
Well, they didn't work out. Okay. So when you bring on interns, first you got to follow the rules. Then you got to figure out what they need out of it, right? This should be an experience for them, educational and an introductory program to the workforce.
Yep.
But okay, how do you onboard them? How do you make them a part of your culture? Because if they're fantastic and you bring them on board, if they don't understand the culture and how to be a good part of your company, well, you've already set them up for failure.
Well, let me ask you this question. So I can see where that statement would be true regardless. I mean, we could do a whole other series of conversations around making sure when you're bringing on employees that you have to onboard them in the correct way.
Right.
Especially in the nonprofit and smaller business realms where you may not have a full-time HR professional, having the systems and the processes in place to make sure your new staff is brought in and indoctrinated into how you go to market is exceedingly important and will go sideways quickly if you don't do it well. Let's just assume that our clientele that we're speaking to may not have a full-time HR department. Who do you have, or how do you ensure that when those intern singular or interns plural are brought into the workforce, that you're bringing them in a way that they walk in and can immediately have an impact? Because you only have them for a short period of time.
Right. So first, clearly lay out what project they're working on, what the expectation is for the project. Second, what is their job description? So, you're going to set parameters in that. You expect them to be here X amount of times. This is the product that they should get, right? So expectations, job description, and then who are you? Who are you as a company? Just have a conversation about, here's our core values, this is what we want, and ask them what they expect.
That's good. Yeah, so the expectation of the student is equally as important. Again, we're talking about interns, but all of these things that you're saying are true about hiring your staff as well. If you don't bring them on, and if they can't draw a connecting line between their role and meeting the vision and mission of the organization, they're not going to stick around a very long time. So who is that person though? Do you have a mentoring program or do you have a point person? Who's your point person on the staff? Again, this is assuming that you don't have a full-time HR, because if you do, that's your person that's kind of running that internship program, I would think.
So, there's so many layers to that. The first one is, well, who are they working with? And who's the lead in that area?
So like the project manager's person, whoever's kind of the lead guy. Okay.
But you could be a smaller company that really they're bringing the intern in because you don't have a project lead in that area. So that person really should be you. There should be a clear, as a leader, a clear understanding of what you're bringing the person in on. But here's another thing that businesses do not always understand. For profit, because nonprofit looks very much different. It's not an internship, but for profit. Sometimes people forget to ask the school, are they approved to do this? And so the intern does all of this and they're trying to graduate. At the end of the line, they're told, well, you can't use that for your internship.
It's so interesting you should say that. We have a client that has a situation like that right now, where the student had a 200-hour practicum that they had to meet. They had to get 200 hours in order to get credit for
or they
this
couldn't
class.
graduate.
Correct. The organization that they're working with stumbled along the way, no fault of their own, was just getting started, and said, well, we don't have enough work for you to get to that 200 hours. Well, now that student's getting ready to graduate and they're like, okay, well, I still need like 30 more hours and I need to do this 30 hours in the next 2 weeks. And I'm taking class full time and I've got finals and I've got spring break and we're scrambling to figure out how to make that work. So understanding the expectations of the school for the internship program cannot be understated or overstated enough. Like, you have to do that. Coordinating with the university internship coordinator is super important.
I was speaking to someone the other day, similar situation, right? They had an intern. They asked me, hey, okay, I don't know whose fault this was. Well, okay, let's talk about that. So the intern got to the end and they lacked so many hours. And I said, well, what was the check-in process along the way? Well, that was the student's responsibility. No, you're the adult in the room. Not saying that college students are not adults. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you brought them on, therefore you were responsible. So having the conversation, hey, how many hours are you expected to do? So that there's a clear path and a check-in process.
It's just like having a part-time employee, aside from the fact that you have extra boxes you have to check off. You wouldn't sell a part-time employee, well, you just work whenever you can work.
Right.
You tell a part-time employee, I need you here from
You
8 to
set the
noon,
expectation.
5 days a week, and we move on.
So for volunteers on the nonprofit side, there are unpaid interns in nonprofit world, but you still have to be very careful about if you are an unpaid intern. Does that still work with my accreditation? It doesn't change if you're nonprofit or for-profit. There are still all the same steps.
Yes,
someone said the other day, okay, well, we're a nonprofit and it's unpaid, so we can treat them like a volunteer. Well, no, the expectation is they are turning these hours into their accredited school.
And you had better be, as somebody who mentors college kids and who have college students ask me constantly, what should I do about an internship? I will die before I say take an unpaid internship. So if you are expecting to get an unpaid intern, you had better be the cream of the crop in terms of your business so that people are beating down your door in order to work for you. Because essentially what you're asking somebody to do is give up a portion of their life to donate their services to you. And if you're not giving them something in return, as in terms of future opportunity or educational experience or something, you've got a
Scott,
quasi-slave that
right.
you're now hiring, and that's just not good practice.
And Scott, we like to talk to social impact companies, right? And you are impacting your community. How does that show up with your intern? Because
That's a very good statement.
A life-changing experience. It is an introductory into the workforce. It is a responsibility of molding a future citizen.
That's good.
How are you handling that responsibility?
That you said that spectacularly well. You're molding someone in the image of your business, and if you're treating them like a disposable commodity, how does that mirror your culture internally? Why would they want to come work for you? Why would anybody want to come work for you if you're treating part-time interns, volunteers, employees as second-class citizens?
Yeah, just be nice.
If you want to have it, see, now you're going places. If you want to have an impact, you have got to have fantastic people. If you're going to have fantastic people, they have options. And if you're not going to pay them, you had better have something that's going to entice them to come work for you.
Okay, speaking of coming and working, how do you find an intern?
Let's stay on the business side. All the business schools will have internship coordinators. Typically in the department of, I know at Clemson, it's the Department of Engagement, student engagement for the College of Business. You reach out to them, they will set you up with an intern. I know as an alumni, I often have the ability to log in and actually create an internship profile where I can coordinate. We can coordinate, because I'm sure you could do it for app as well. We can coordinate setting up internships for the organizations we work with through the university process. I think the key is, if you are looking to hire an intern, you need to think about it as if you're hiring an employee. You need to have a job description. You need to have an expectation of what they're going to do. You need to think about what you're going to pay them. You need to be able to say, what is the process, so that we're setting that person up for success. And on the flip side, that person can have an immediate impact into what we're trying to accomplish.
I think interns are fantastic if they are utilized in the proper way.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
If you're looking for an intern, if you want to figure out what to do with an intern, take a step back.
Or if you're a student looking to find an impact business to work for, hit us up.
Yeah.
We know a lot of people who know a lot of people, and we will make sure that it's a good fit.
Yeah. So thank you for your time.
And we're going to come back the next episode and really talk about what it means to be a volunteer, and how volunteers and interns are not the same.
They are not the same.
There are similarities, but they are not the same. So until next time, live a life of purpose on purpose.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.